Canon finally announced the long-rumored and speculated C700 as part of their Cinema EOS line. Now, I'm going to get into my opinion on this particular camera, but first, let's go through the specs just so we're all on the same page. According to B&H, the C700 specs are as follows, and we're going to do the kind of top-level main highlights and then get into some of the nitty-gritty of the camera. So the first and foremost thing you need to know is that this is a Super 35 CMOS sensor, so that very typical traditional film look, nothing too revolutionary there, but also an industry standard. We've got 15 stops of dynamic range, which is also very nice to have. There are some cameras out there with a little bit more nowadays, but it's respectable. We've got the new dual pixel CMOS AF system for autofocusing during video. I haven't personally used this system, but I know a few people who have, and they like it quite a bit. I don't know how much I trust autofocus during video, but like I said, I have yet to try it. So it's cool that it's included. Now, this camera records 4K at up to 60 frames per second internally, and it also does 2K or pretty close to HD at 240 frames per second. Now that's internally. You can actually get the frames per second up to 120 frames per second in 4K, but you need an external recording module. I hate that, but hey, it is what it is. You can record proxy files to SD cards, which is a nice thing to have if you're looking to kind of rush dailies. We've got selectable gamma and log curves, pretty typical stuff there, especially on a camera of this quality. We've got XF AVC and ProRes codecs recording to CFast 2.0 cards, very nice. An intuitive user interface, well, that seems like kind of a opinionated, subjective statement, not necessarily very factual, but okay, we'll see. And a raw recording option that's as part of that external recorder that I mentioned earlier. Now this camera comes in 3 different flavors. We've got your EF mount for traditional DSLR Canon glass. We've got a PL mount for traditional cinema lenses, and then there's also a PL mount with global shutter to eliminate the rolling shutter problem that is typical with CMOS sensors. Now, I do believe the global shutter has a 1-stop reduction in dynamic range, so you're looking at 14 stops of dynamic range with the global shutter, but that's pretty common for a global shutter sensor. CMOS sensors get a little bit better dynamic range while introducing that rolling shutter. As for some specific standout specs, we've got ISO range from 160 to 25,600, expanded 100 to 102,400. I can't imagine anyone's going to use that, but hey, it's there if you need it. We've also got built-in ND filters, which is a great thing to have right in the camera. Normal 2, 4, and 6 stops. There's an expansion, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but that'll give you 8 to 10 stops. It might be something you have to buy. Maybe it's just a mode. And the mechanism is that it's motorized. Good to know for what it's worth. Here we've got the breakdown for the recording media with those CFast card slots. There's actually 2 of those, which is great. And there's 1 SDXC card slot for those proxy files. We've got your pretty standard input-output connections, HDMI, SDI, all the good stuff that you would normally see on a camera of this caliber. And the thing weighs in at 7.6 pounds, approximately, just standard without lens, body only. Now you might be asking yourself the most important question, how much does something like this cost? Well, the final total for the body only for the C700 is $28,000, which should probably be expected considering this is the top of the line for the Canon EOS Cinema line. So now that we're on the same page as to what we're actually talking about, let's actually talk about it. What do I think of this camera? Well, I don't know that there's a lot to say. It's pretty average, I would guess. I mean, a nice way to say it. If anything, the specs look kind of dated. Not that it's a bad camera. I'm sure it's a great camera. And Canon is known for their great color science and making spectacular images. But there's nothing here to get really excited or passionate about in terms of new groundbreaking features. They could have gone with a little bit higher resolution. They decided to stick with 4K. Totally fine, totally acceptable. But when you have companies like Red pushing into the 6K and 8K realm, and you're competing in that high-end cinema line, it's like, well, what extra are you offering? And I think that's what people are looking to Canon for, and it should be pretty expected. Canon is not known for pushing huge features forward and offering a lot of bells and whistles and new shiny things on their cameras. Basically, they're offering something that hopefully is a rock solid product that delivers nice looking images. Would it be nice if it were cheaper? Absolutely. I think Canon, one of the best things they could do from a customer loyalty standpoint is lower their prices a little bit and not charge that Canon premium just because they're not offering anything above the competition. But they do have a lot of fans. I'm not one of them. Even though I'm wearing my red shirt for Canon in this video, I'm not a Canon fanboy. I look at all their stuff maybe with a little extra dose of skepticism. Again, I can't say this enough. I think this will be a great camera because I don't want people in the comments to say, oh, you're bashing it, or why you hate Canon. I don't. I'll probably rent this camera at some point and use it because it will probably make nice images. But like I said, what is there to be excited about? They're offering 4K 60 frames internal recording. You need to buy the external module to get the raw recording with the 120 frames per second. So even stock right off the shelf, this thing isn't screaming with amazing features and, you know, the dynamic range at 15 stops. That's respectable. That's great. But it's not 16, 17, or 18, you know, trying to one-up the competition. And maybe they don't have to. Maybe there's enough people out there who like shooting with Canon, but if the internet is any indication, that doesn't seem to be the case. There's actually a lot of people right now talking about this camera specifically, and Canon in general, with kind of that hint or touch of like, what are they doing? And again, it's not that they're making bad cameras, it's just that they don't seem passionate about making anything cool. I know that's a silly complaint, and that's why I don't really have a lot of criticism for the C700, even though I'm sure people will give me hate in the comments below. But no, I don't have hate for this camera. It's really expensive. I won't buy one. I wouldn't recommend you buy one, but it's not a camera that, you know, it's in that price range where you've got to be very serious about a camera like this if you're going to spend that kind of money. And I do think there are better options out there in the market right now. Sony's got great cameras. Red, you know, this is a price range where you're competing with Red, and there's a lot of people who love those cameras. Love them or hate them, they offer some pretty amazing features. And even though they're not the most easy to work with all the time, and there's maybe some people who have reliability issues with them, every time I've shot with Red, I've loved it. It's been a great experience. And if you're going to drop money purchasing something, I think you'd probably want to spend it on something that you're really passionate and excited about, and the C700 just doesn't seem like that. Maybe it'll be a good rental option, but from what people are saying is that the C300 Mark II isn't even flying off the shelves in terms of being a hot rental item. Most of that money is going towards the Sony cameras, the Sony FS7, the F5, the F55, the FS5. It's so hard to keep track of all the Sony cameras, but me personally, I've shot with the FS7 and I've shot with the FS5, and those are great cameras. I love those cameras, and I've probably unknowingly chosen them over the Canon C300 Mark II because they offer more features. They offer better quality, more flexibility, especially with the lens mount. You know, the Sony E-mount lens, just that alone, being able to have Super 35 or put a speed booster on there and go full frame if you want to. That flexibility is fantastic, especially for the way that I shoot and the kind of images I like to capture. So when you're looking at the Canon ecosystem, it really is, I think, driven by a lot of loyalty. I think there's people who like Canon. They swear by the images. They say the color's better. If you have a colorist, that really shouldn't matter, but you know, I probably don't want to touch on that too much. There's people who love Canon color. They think it's the best thing ever, and they do make reliable cameras, so there is that. If you have a project where it calls for something like this, C700 is probably a good rental option at some point, but by the time this thing actually comes out, because this is just announced, who knows when it's actually going to be shipping, by the time it's actually shipping and it's available, there might be newer, even better cameras. And that's why when Canon isn't pushing their specs forward fast enough to compete with all the other companies out there, they start to look a little dated. And I think when you're looking at the camera market in general for video, there are some unspoken taglines for each of these companies, and I'd break it down like this. Arri, the absolute best. Red, f yeah, let's kick some ass. Sony, the professional choice. Blackmagic, we'll get it right eventually. Panasonic, please buy our cameras. Nikon, wait, people want video? Canon, you'll buy it because it has our name on it. So there you go. That's my opinion. Sorry, it's not a strong opinion, but I don't have strong feelings for this camera. Like I said, from my perspective, it's very average, and I think that's to be expected. Canon is kind of just riding the status quo. They're not pushing things forward, and they don't seem interested in really tackling the competition with bigger and better features. And, you know, maybe that's okay for their business. They just seem a little reliant on that Canon name to sell their cameras rather than offering features that would sell them instead.